self-assessment in order to identify your own personal strengths and weaknesses. Now, it's a pretty obvious question of why would you even think about identifying your own strengths and weaknesses and conducting a self-assessment when it comes to trading? Well, I think it comes from this book here. Now, this book is one of my must-reads. It's Market Wizards by Jack Schwager. It's still the book, I say, to this day, which has had the most influence on my own trading. Just an absolute classic. This is well worn. I've had it quite a few years now, and I've read it a few times as well. But why this book is important to me, in one respect, was because all these traders that we interview within this book, they're all very different people. Different types of people. They traded the market very differently. Their upbringing, their background, their experience in the market was very different. They traded different trading products, different styles over completely different time frames. So the key word being different, different, different. However, there were some similarities in the way they approached the market and what they did. I'll talk about a couple of those later on, but the one of most relevance to this particular tutorial now is the fact that all of them, despite their differences and the different ways they approach the market, they all had an approach, a methodology, a plan, a system, whatever term you'd like to use, that they were very comfortable with. It was right for them. Okay? They had discovered an approach, a methodology, a plan, which was right for them. They hadn't found any perfect trading system. They hadn't found the perfect indicator. They just had a trading style which was right for them and suited them. Well, why is that important to us? Well, clearly, in order to be successful, you need to identify a trading approach, a methodology and a system which is right for you. Well, how do you do that unless you conduct some form of self-assessment, a form of introspection, if you will? So clearly we need to go through a number of factors and assess ourselves in order to develop a plan which is going to be right for us. And I would like today to go through a number of factors which can help you in identifying your own strengths and weaknesses, which will ultimately determine the sort of style and the path you take within your trading. The first one I'd like to talk about is time. Time, I think, is incredibly critical when it comes to developing a trading plan which is going to work for you. Yet it's probably the one thing a lot of people don't think about. Now, why is time so critical when it comes to trading? First and foremost, we're all going to have different trading styles. Some of us will have very conservative, longer term or medium term styles. At the other end of the scale, you'll have some of us who trade very short term instruments, very short term time frames. Now, depending on the sort of style you adopt, will determine how much time you need to commit to trading that style of trading. For example, someone trading very long-term, medium-term trends, very conservative approach, really doesn't need to trade every day. They don't need to look at the market all day. They can go extended periods of time with really not spending a great deal of time looking at the market. On the other hand, however, you have certain people adopting very short-term approaches. Well, they need to be on the market, looking at the market and committing a lot of time to their approach. Otherwise, the consequences may be devastating. So clearly the time on us is very different depending on your style. The problem is our lives have never been busier. So if you have someone who's working, full-time and works 40, 50, 60 hours a week, perhaps you're a parent looking after children, looking after the home, perhaps you run your own business, bearing in mind our lives have never been busier, if you simply don't have the time to commit to a short-term trading approach, yet you trade it anyway, look, day one, you already don't have a plan which is right for you simply because you don't have the time to commit to that style of trading. And you might go a couple of days or 1 week or 2 weeks where you really don't follow your plan through completely because you don't have the time, and you may get away with it. But remember, we don't want to trade successfully for 1 or 2 weeks. We want to trade successfully for the rest of our lives. So if you don't have the time available to you, then perhaps you may be restricted from trading certain styles simply on time. So first thing to look at is how much time really do you have available to trade. Another thing I'd like to talk about is confidence. Now, I'll be addressing confidence later on in the program, but just thinking about confidence now. Confidence is your self-belief, belief in your ability to do things and belief in yourself. And I think really there's two different levels of confidence here. There's that initial confidence of, your own belief in yourself and your ability to do things, but also your confidence when it comes to trading. You need to assess your levels of confidence, that belief in yourself. Clearly, trading, like so many other things, if you lack confidence in yourself, then success is just going to be that much harder to achieve. So assess your levels of confidence, and I'll talk about confidence in far greater detail later on down the track. Next is your computer proficiency. Trading software now can be quite complicated things, allowing you to perform a lot of calculations and develop your own indicators and conduct analysis and scans and exploring the market and all these crunching, number crunching activities that they can conduct. So computers, or more importantly software, have now got to a stage where some of them are actually quite complicated. So simply assessing your level of computer proficiency, if you have troubles using a computer, if you have troubles navigating through an operating system like Windows or whatever, something like that, and you have trouble with just the basic navigation, taking on a piece of software which is actually quite complicated may not be the best path for you. Now, I've coached many people over the years, and in one respect it's on one particular piece of software, and it's actually quite complicated. And here is a typical scenario. You'll have someone buy this software because they hear from others how good it is, and that's quite justified. So they purchase it. However, it's probably to their disadvantage, simply because they don't have great levels of computer proficiency. So they struggle through trying to learn how to use this software, and 2 years later you'll see them and ask, how are you going, how's your trading going? Still trying to work out how to use the software would normally be their response. Well, that's a terrible situation to be in. Now, they would be best served by removing themselves from that software and getting something else, but of course if you commit so much money to purchasing the software in the first place, it's only human nature, as if you're going to get rid of it when you've spent so much on it, you want to see it through and get your money's worth. Whereas I think a lot of those people would be best served by getting rid of it and moving on. Anyway, computer proficiency. If it's not great for you, then maybe even more reason to adopt a very simple approach, which you really don't need that great deal of number crunching to help you with. Next is your environment. First and foremost is the area, the environment in which you are going to make your trading decisions. You need to have an area which is yours, not at the kitchen table with children running around, not in the TV room. It needs to be your space where you can move away from all those other distractions, sit down, think clearly, be calm, be measured, and focus on the task at hand. So have a think about that area, and it may be at work, it may be at home, it may be somewhere else. Have a think about that place which you are going to set up for yourself. And just a note on that, even if you wanted to put up pictures which are your dreams for your trading, then please do that, because it only serves for some people as great motivation and a spur to keep going and learning and doing well with our trading. So if that's a picture of the Porsche that you want, then please place that above your monitor. The other thing about the environment is not just where you are sitting and where you're going to make your decisions, but the environment in which you're going to be engaging, and that's of course is the market. So what is your current levels of knowledge and experience in the market that you'll be operating in? Perhaps go to the stock exchange website, maybe go and read material on foreign exchange or options, and better understand the product and the market that you'll be trading. So assess that level right now. I've already spoken a little bit about emotions and how we deal with emotions and what a great challenge that trading presents us. So whilst we conduct this self-assessment, also have a think about your level of emotional stability. How are you placed so far as emotional stability? And what are you going to be doing to, eliminate those emotions? Or not eliminate them, but try to reduce the influence that those emotions have on your decision-making process. Discipline is another thing that I would like you to assess in your own self right now. What is your level of discipline like? It's clear to say that it's pretty clear in my mind that discipline is probably the most important character attribute successful traders have. So where are you placed right now with your own personal discipline? And again, that's something that we'll address separately because it is so critical to achieving that trading success, and that's your levels of discipline. So where are you placed right now? How would you assess yourself? Next is patience. Patience is also a very critical attribute of successful traders, yet it's probably one of the most underrated and understated attributes of successful traders. Not many people talk about patience as being critical to trading success. I believe it is, I know it is. So what is your level of patience? Now, patience can affect us in a number of different ways, but probably where we'll work towards is the fact that if you're not a very patient person, then simply, adopting a medium-term or long-term trading approach isn't going to be for you, because you're not going to have the patience to see trades through over an extended period of time and enjoy good, steady, solid profits. You simply won't be able to see it through. Yet if you traded that, again, you'd be adopting and developing an approach which is not right for you. So patience is very, very critical. The other thing about patience, and again, because it is so important, I'll deal with this in greater detail later on, but the other thing with patience is it's important to realise that trading success does not happen overnight. It's cliche, I know it, I accept that, but it is the reality, that's the truth. Trading success does not happen overnight. Another critical component of ourselves and our self-assessment is our own tolerance to risk. The interesting thing about the markets is we all have a different tolerance to risk. So how are you placed so far as accepting, absorbing and tolerating risk in the market? Are you a very conservative person, or are you a risk taker, a person very comfortable, happy taking risk? Again, there's the whole spectrum, and again that really leads us to what sort of trading style we're going to adopt, and again we'll talk about that later on. Two final ones for you, and that is fear and greed. Many would argue that these two emotions, these two things within us really drive prices every single day in markets, and that is people's fear and also people's greed. So how do you sit, and where do you assess your current levels of fear and greed? I guess to an extent we all have some of them, in us, but how are you placed with fear and greed? What I'd like you to do is take your pen out, open up your word processor software and write down those key items I've just gone through, and just write a little bit about how you see yourself and where you assess yourself under each of those headings, so you can form the basis of your self-assessment, assessing your strengths and weaknesses. And there's a couple of things I'd like you to do with those. Firstly, if you identify key weaknesses within you, I would like you to post those comments. We all are in this together, and we're all here to help each other as part of our mastermind. So if you have key weaknesses, please post those, because what you might find is there's others within the mastermind who go, I struggled with that for 3 years, 6 months ago I fixed that problem, this is how I did it, and I'd like to share that with you. And all of a sudden we've started this process of helping each other out. So please feel free to post those comments and identify your own strengths and weaknesses, because remember, we're here to help each other. The other thing with writing this self-assessment and identifying the strengths and weaknesses is I would like you to make a commitment to yourself. When you have a list of your weaknesses, make a commitment right here and now, as you do this and as you watch this and write down your self-assessment, make a commitment to yourself to improve these areas and become a better person and a better trader based on these areas that you've identified as your weakness. So perhaps something you can do today is make the commitment. Let's make it happen, let's help each other out, and let's work towards becoming better traders based on our self-assessment. Now, I'm often asked, what are these character attributes of successful traders? What are these, personal traits and qualities that these successful traders have? And I thought it would be appropriate right now to address some of these and bring up some of these, because as we conduct our self-assessment, let's add this list to our self-assessment and work through and assess ourselves based on all of these attributes and traits that I think successful traders have. To me, successful traders are the following. They're disciplined, they're humble, they're patient, they're motivated, they're committed, they're emotionally stable, they're in control, they're passionate, they're persistent, they're focused, they're flexible, they're agile, they're decisive, confident, conservative, inquisitive, honest, and have integrity. That's a list that I've come up with, and you could probably name a few more. That's a list that I've come up with, that I believe people, successful traders, have these qualities. They have these character attributes, and they're quite highly tuned in all of these successful traders. So add those to your list, add those to your self-assessment, and see how you sit and how you see yourself in all those areas. And again, make it form part of your self-assessment. Just a reminder, please post your comments. If you identify key weaknesses in yourself as a trader and all these qualities that I've mentioned, please post them. Let's get some feedback on this. Let's generate some great discussion on this, such a critical topic, and let's ultimately help each other out become successful traders. I'll talk to you soon.